need to know what your plan will be. The huge, most important decision that you first must make is whether to ride out the storm or flee. To answer this, you must first understand how much your dwelling can take to keep you safe. Everyone is in one of two boats. Any dwelling that has no window protection is not a safe place to ride out any hurricane. Also, be aware of any trees or power lines tall enough to fall on your dwelling. Also, look for fences and any other items that could become projectiles. Then we will have people in safe dwellings with window protection and no other hazards I just mentioned. Let's call these dwellings a bunker versus a chandelier. I have lived in both, so it's best if I just tell you my plans of action. Living in a chandelier, I had to be ready to flee with 10 hours before landfall. 4 days from a possible hit, I would book a hotel room for 2 weeks in a region a few hour drive from my location that was not going to get any impacts. When we go to the tracking map to show you what direction to flee, I will really focus on Florida. Florida is not simple when it comes to fleeing, which I will display. People that live in bunkers, you have no reason to flee any storm with 125 mile per hour winds or less. 130, 135. This is where I start to consider fleeing. You get to 140 or more, I'm going to hotel room. Now, to be clear, I just don't want any part of the experience. I am not riding out 140 plus winds for 4 to 6 hours, possibly in the dark, and then live like an animal for 2 weeks without power. I will be in a comfortable hotel room until the cleanup is finished. When any storm is coming in for a final approach, I will inform the specific regions with chandelier dwellings, and of course the people in bunkers, if they need to go as well, I will have to inform you of those regions. So 2 groups of people I am protecting. You are either in a safe bunker or you are in a very dangerous chandelier. Imagine a football player in the NFL going into a game without his helmet. You want no part of a hurricane without window protection. Let's now look at every coastline in a hurricane-prone region, excluding Florida for now. We're going to include the Panhandle. Well, other than that, we're going to put that aside and deal with that riddle in a minute or so. So you can see the coastline. I went all the way up to Connecticut. It had major storms up in New Jersey, New York area. Generally, the big ones do not go north as far as making a landfall coming in from the ocean. Typically, you don't see much of that north of North Carolina. So all the way down the eastern seaboard here in blue. What these red dots mean are high storm surge area. Very dangerous, low-lying region. In South Carolina, they call it the low country because of how low in elevation it is. They're evacuating when we got storms down in the Bahamas. This is the entire Gulf Coast, okay? And then you can go into Texas as well. Real big ones love to come in here. The Panhandle has been hit more than South Florida, which was a surprise when I learned that. Red dot means very susceptible to storm surge, as Hurricane Katrina taught New Orleans the hard way. Right here, with their 8 feet below sea level city. This region is dangerous. Texas, the Gulf Coast, from Jacksonville up to New York City. I have written the word west for a reason. Every coastline, all the way down, all the way around, I recommend to flee any of these regions. If you're not evacuated and you have the resources to get off the water, do so. By all means, it's an easy decision. Get out of there. The Gulf Coast specifically. Don't flee in the direction the storm is going. So this region right here I want to focus on. I know a lot of people head north in Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Louisiana. The storm's going north. When you flee away from the storm. You need to think west, not north. Alright, so that wraps up the country except for Florida. Now we're going to move into my state, Florida, and I will explain why it is such a headache. Let's take a look at Florida. From the tip of the peninsula all the way up to the state line of Georgia. It's 450 miles. Here's the problem with fleeing a storm on a peninsula. Lots of our storms come from the southeast and they come north. We're going to go through a few in a minute, but I want to first set up the situation. People get in their car with all the big storms that come close and they go north from fear. Just imagine, stop and go all the way up to Georgia, 450 miles away. If it's a 7-hour drive normally, what is that going to be, 14, 20 hours? Who knows? You're not getting a hotel room in the state of Florida. You're going to have to keep traveling north into Georgia and maybe have to get close to Atlanta to find a hotel room. What happens a lot is these poor people leave South Florida, end up somewhere in Georgia. Their South Florida home did not get hit, and they're up in Georgia getting hit by the remnants of the storm in their hotel. This is just an absolute disaster to me. And I kept this here west to remind you the panhandle of Florida, you simply go west. That's a real easy decision. But when they come up north through here, it gets tricky. I'm going to go through a few of them now. Let's look at a track like this. Essentially a direct hit for West Palm Beach. Coming right through the peninsula. Right through. Now with this track, most residents will just get in their car and go north. I got room to the south. So with a track like this, everyone going north, if it's going to hit me, you know I'm ready. I'm a step to two ahead because I'm tracking the storm and I know exactly what's going on. Right side of any storm is where the hell is. Be right there for this one. That's where all the action is. Right in here. Now this is what I call the death track for Florida. This is a real tricky path to flee from. Pretty much cut off to the south. Not enough room for me to sneak down there. Okay, so with a track like this is the area that's getting hit the hardest. You're really trapped here. There's really nowhere to hide from it, but you can at least get yourself out of the ground zero, which is where I would be right here. This again is South Florida's death track. All three counties are going to get annihilated. So I would probably go up to here. That's where I would go. Most of the garbage of the storm on the right dirty side is going to now be in the ocean. Right about there. So that's where I would go. But you also got to know when. You got to get up here before it comes in. It's not about trying to outrun a storm to the north. It's about outthinking it. And of course, I have an advantage here. And now it's your advantage. Because these Florida storms, especially South Florida, they can come from so many directions. I only went through a couple just to give you an example. Be aware of your dwelling. You cannot be in a dwelling without window protection. All right, that's the highlight here. This is how you develop an ironclad plan. This is why I have been hit 11 times and I'm still here. Doing this a long time. You have me with you. I'm going to steer the ship. All right, that's it. Stay safe.